Welcome to our 5 on 5. I'm joined today by former Republican State Senator and U.S. congressional candidate Cliff Bentz, as well as House Minority Whip, U.S. Representative Steve Scalise from Louisiana. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us today.
Good to be with you.
Great to be here.
Senator Bentz, I'll start with you. This, I believe, is your first time seeing the ruins of the Almeda Fire today. What were your impressions?
It was a horrible loss, and my heart goes out to all the folks that have lost so much, and I hope I can help Congressman Walden and Congressman Scalise rebuild from the devastation.
Representative Scalise, you've seen the devastation of natural disasters before in your native Louisiana, specifically, of course, with Katrina in the New Orleans area. What can you tell us about FEMA and the time it takes for a full federal response? This is not a short process.
Right. You know, this is an area, first of all, where the community pulls together, and I'm already seeing it here on the ground. But, you know, you work with FEMA. The Stafford Act is the law that governs major disasters. And, you know, we got unfortunately, very intimately familiar with how the Stafford Act works after Hurricane Katrina. The eye went right through the heart of my district. And so, you know, it took years for people to fully rebuild. I mean, obviously you had communities there where the entire community was underwater for 3 weeks, and they had to demolish entire blocks long. What we saw today was some really bad devastation in some of these trailer parks, and you saw where the wildfires just came through fast. You got to imagine the intensity of that heat, and then boom, it's bouncing around and just destroying these areas. So we're going to be there to help. I'd already spoke with Congressman Walden about the things that we can do to help him. He's already on it, and I know Cliff is very aware of what needs to be done too to help these people here in this community.
Senator Bentz, I know you've been working with Congressman Walden these last several months. What can you tell us about what you've heard about the federal response thus far?
Well, I haven't heard that much, so I'm not in a very good position to say anything other than I understand the Congressman has been doing his best to facilitate that response, and I'll do my best to pick up the ball and run with it because I'm optimistic I'll be elected come this November.
And Mr. Bentz, you are 3 weeks from Election Day as we speak right now. It's been interesting and fascinating for us to see the bipartisan work that's going on with our Oregon delegation. Is that something you would hope to continue if elected?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You're talking about the response to the fire and the damage. We need to do everything we can working together to help these folks get their homes back and try to do our best to rebuild their lives.
Okay. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll have much more in a minute. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. I'm here with former state senator and U.S. congressional candidate Cliff Bentz, as well as House Minority Whip, U.S. Representative Steve Scalise from Louisiana. Senator Bentz, we're in the final push, 3 weeks now till Election Day. How did this visit with Mr. Scalise come about?
Well, Congressman Scalise was going to be visiting the Northwest and offered to come down to say hello and help with some fundraising. And we said, hey, how about going to Medford and taking a look at the damage, because having a personal view of this would help, I think, in the response to it back in Washington, D.C.
Okay. And Congressman Scalise, our viewers may know you best as one of the victims in a shooting in the Capitol targeting Republicans at a baseball practice. You were shot in the hip, I believe. How are you feeling today?
Actually feeling great. You know, I had about 3.5 months in the hospital where for a while they weren't sure if I was going to make it through, and then ultimately they weren't sure if I was going to be able to walk again. I had to relearn how to walk, but thank God through miracles, through so many prayers, and just a lot of heroes, I'm here today. I'm walking on my own. I dropped the crutches in January, so you know, can't run a marathon yet, but God's been good to me, and I'm lucky to be alive.
Well, we're glad to hear that. And Senator Bentz, you joined Congressman Walden and Scalise today in honoring a local military veteran who lost his home to the Almeda Fire. What stood out to you most about that?
Well, what stood out to me was the amount we owe, the debt we owe our veterans, and how this was just a modest way of trying to repay that debt. And I was very impressed by Congressman Walden's thoughtfulness in reaching out to the veteran community and that veteran in particular.
All right. Mr. Bentz, Mr. Scalise, thank you so much for taking the time today and joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.